Coming to the next type of epithelium, cuboidal epithelium. This cuboidal epithelium, it is named because of the shape of the cells. The cells of this epithelium are cube shaped and the nucleus is centrally located. You can observe, you can clearly observe here the nucleus is centrally located. And this cuboidal epithelium is particular to the areas where secretion and absorption is observed. Particularly, the examples are the kidney tubules, the proximal convoluted tubule, and parts of eye and thyroid and surface of ovary. These are all the examples for cuboidal epithelium. And coming to the third type of epithelium, that is columnar epithelium. The cells are column shaped or pillar shaped. The cells are pillar shaped. And the cells are much elongated and much longer than they are wide. And the nucleus is basally located nucleus. The particular thing you have to observe in columnar epithelium is the nucleus is basally located. This columnar epithelium is again divided into two types based on the number of layers. If it is having single layer, it is called as simple columnar epithelium. And if it look like pseudo stratified, even though it is not having multi-layered, but it looks like multi-layered, then it is called as pseudo stratified columnar epithelium. Now let us have a look over the simple columnar epithelium. Simple columnar epithelium, the cells are column shaped or pillar shaped. You can clearly observe here, and the location of nucleus is also at the base. It is the basement membrane, and the nucleus is located almost near to the basement membrane. That's why it is called as simple columnar epithelium. And this single layer of cells that line the digestive tract is an example for this simple columnar epithelium, gallbladder and excretory ducts of some glands. And also these simple columnar epithelium, they are having microvilli at their surface for absorption in a small intestine. Small intestine is the area of absorption of digested food. And coming to the second one, pseudo stratified ciliated columnar epithelium. Why it is called as pseudo stratified ciliated columnar? Because a multi-layered epithelium. Here you can observe, because of the location of nucleus, and it is looking like multi-layered, 2-layer or 3-layered, but actually it is a single layered epithelium. That's why it is called as pseudo. Pseudo means false, stratified means layered. It is looking like multi-layered. Here you can observe these cells. Here the nucleus is here, and to this cell the nucleus is here. That's why it is looking like 2-layered cells, but it is a single layer. That's why it is called as pseudo stratified ciliated columnar epithelium, which is observed in the lines of bronchi, trachea, uterine tubules and some of the parts of uterus, and it propels mucus or reproductive cells by ciliary action. Because it is having cilia, these cilia, they help in propelling the reproductive cells, particularly the eggs. Okay, type of epithelium. This finishes the epithelium. Let us now move to second type of tissue, that is connective tissue. Connective tissue. Connective tissue is characterized by the cells widely separated from each other in a matrix that is produced by the cells. Here, with regard to epithelium, the cells are tightly junked together, whereas in connective tissue, the cells are widely separated from each other in a matrix. The matrix is again a peculiar character of these connective tissues, and it is so named because of its property, particular property of binding and supporting. Because of this binding and supporting property, it is called as connective tissue. It binds and support other tissues and also other organs. The extracellular matrix of this connective tissue is composed of two regions, the ground substance and the fibers. The ground substance includes water, proteins, polysaccharides, and fibers includes the collagen fibers, elastic fibers, and reticular fibers. The collagen fibers are white in color, elastic fibers are yellow in colors, and reticular fibers they are thin and net-like fibers. All these fibers and cells are observed in connective tissue. In connective tissue, there are five types of cells we can come across. Those are fibroblasts, mast cells, macrophages, and adipocytes and plasma cells. These are the five types of cells that are observed. Those are observed in connective tissue. In addition to these cells, fibers are also there. Collagen fibers, white collagen fibers, yellow elastic fibers, and thin net-like reticular fibers. Based on their property, the connective tissues are divided into a number of types, but for our ease of learning, we can simply classify the connective tissue as like this. Okay, the first one is loose connective tissue. Loose connective tissue. Now, the name itself indicating the cells and fibers are loosely arranged. As we already learned that there are five types of cells. What are they? Fibroblasts, mast cells, macrophages, adipocytes, and plasma cells. All these five types of cells are present in loose connective tissue, along with all the three types of fibers, that is reticular fibers and collagen fibers and elastic fibers. All these are observed in this loose connective tissue. Okay, and this loose connective tissue, it is the cells and fibers are loosely arranged and wraps and cushions organs, as like it is a packing tissue, as like a chocolate is packed in a wrapper, and similarly the organs are wrapped in this loose connective tissue. It is present below the skin, that's why it is subcutaneous tissue, and this subcutaneous layer of the skin is also formed by this loose connective tissue. Coming to the next type of tissue, that is connective tissue, dense connective tissue. Dense connective tissue, the name itself indicating the fibers are densely arranged, and unlike that of loose connective tissue, this dense connective tissue is having more fibers and cells are fewer. All the five types of cells are not observed, but the fibers are more in number. And this dense connective tissue further divided into dense regular connective tissue and dense irregular connective tissue. In dense regular connective tissue, the fibers are arranged in a regular fashion. Here you can observe this. The fibers are arranged in regular fashion. Whereas in dense irregular connective tissue, the fibers are irregularly arranged. Take for an example the dense regular connective tissue. The examples for this dense regular connective tissue are tendon and ligament. Tendon, you already learned that a bone to bone is connected by a ligament, a bone to muscle is connected by tendon. Tendon, it connects a bone to muscle. Ligament, a bone to bone. These are the structures which are made up of dense regular connective tissue, dense connective tissue. And these fibers, they are arranged in a parallelly. Mostly the fibers are collagen fibers in dense connective tissue. Coming to the next type of connective tissue, that is adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is a specialized tissue which functions as a storage tissue for lipids and excess nutrients that are not consumed by us, that is not that are left excess in our body. They are stored in the form of adipose or lipids. Okay, and this is a particular tissue meant for storing of lipids and excess nutrients. And these adipose cells, they contain a large vacuole, and the nucleus and cytoplasm are pushed out to edges of the cell membrane. That's why in the cell itself, the nucleus is peripherally located And cytoplasm is also peripherally located. The centrally located vacuole is observed. This is a peculiar character of this type of tissue. Okay, it is found beneath the skin. It is also found beneath the skin, and it acts as a thermal insulator. You can observe the aquatic animals, aquatic mammals and sea cows, and also it is observed in the hump of a camel. All these are examples for adipose tissue. And coming to the next type of tissue, cartilage. Cartilage is a specialized tissue which is having a solid solid, but somewhat the matrix is firm and somewhat it is pliable, and it is not that much of hard as a bone, and that's why it is called as a cartilage. It has collagen and reticular fibers and matrix secreting chondroblast cells. The cells of the cartilage are called as chondroblasts. These are responsible for secretion of the matrix. The matrix is somewhat rigid. Chondroblasts, these chondroblasts, which are the cells responsible for secreting matrix, they are enclosed in a fluid-filled space called as lacunae. These chondroblasts, they are enclosed in a fluid-filled space called as lacunae. These cartilage again divided into the majorly into three types. The hyaline cartilage. Hyaline cartilage is a glass-like cartilage. It looks like a glass, and it is bluish white translucent cartilage, and it is a delicate cartilage and the weakest cartilage, that is it is the major type of cartilage, and it is observed in nasal septum, rings of trachea, and also bronchi, costal cartilages, and articular cartilages. All these are made up of this type of hyaline cartilage. It is the weakest cartilage, and it is present in most of the areas. Coming to the next type of cartilage, that is elastic cartilage. This elastic cartilage, the name itself indicates its elasticity, and this is made up of elastic fibers and also the collagen fibers. The elastic fibers are yellow in color, and this elastic cartilage is strong and elastic in nature. It is present in the ear of pinna and also eustachian tube and also epiglottis. This is elastic cartilage. And the third type of cartilage is fibrous cartilage. This fibrous cartilage, it is present in the intervertebral discs and pubic symphysis, and it is considered as the strongest cartilage. And the cartilage is made up of collagen fibers, and that's why it is white in color, and it is the strongest cartilage present in the intervertebral discs, pubic symphysis of the pelvis. Next tissue, that is the bone. Bone, the ground of matrix is solid, and it is highly calcified, and it has more amount of blood supply and nerves running through the Haversian canals. These are Haversian canals, and it is richly supplied with blood vessels. That's why it is called as highly vascular tissue. Bone is highly vascular tissue, and it is having as Haversian canal system. Haversian canal system, and this bone is made up of three types of cells. They are osteoblasts, osteocytes, and osteoclasts. Osteoblasts are the immature bone cells. They have a role in mineralization of the bone and become osteocytes. These here you can observe in this picture. These are the osteocytes, and these osteocytes, they are canaliculi interconnected with, and this is all together called as Haversian system, and the central portion is called as the Haversian canal. This bone contains the osteoblasts which are immature, and coming to the osteocytes, after maturation these osteoblasts become into osteocytes, and these osteocytes are enclosed in a fluid filled space called as lacuna, as like that of we have studied in cartilage. And the Third type of cells are osteoclasts, which are phagocytic cells of the bone. That is, they kill the microorganisms found in the bone tissue, and they are also responsible for resorption of the bone. That is, demineralization of the bone. This is about bone. And coming to the next type of connective tissue, that is the blood. Blood is considered as fluid connective tissue and red river of the body, and this blood, it is made up of liquid matrix and formed elements. The liquid matrix, almost plasma, it contains 92 percentage of water and 8 to 10 percentage of plasma proteins, electrolytes, hormones, oxygen, glucose, etc. And coming to the formed elements of the blood, the formed elements are erythrocytes, leukocytes, and platelets. These erythrocytes, also called as red blood cells, here you can observe the red blood cells. These are the red blood cells. Red blood cells. These are erythrocytes. Because of their red color, they are called as red blood cells, and because they are red because of the presence of the hemoglobin. Because of presence of hemoglobin, they are red in color, and they count for 4.5 to 5 millions per cubic millimeter of blood. And almost all vertebrates except mammals, they have nuclei. Mammals are having enucleated erythrocytes, means in the erythrocytes of mammals the nucleus is absent. Okay, and there are some exceptions, llamas and camels. Okay, and coming to the second one, leukocytes. Leuco means white. Because of their color, they are called as leukocytes. They are white blood cells. They are further classified into granulocytes and agranulocytes. These granulocytes, they are further classified into basophils, eosinophils, neutrophils, and agranulocytes, they are further classified into monocytes and lymphocytes. This is about white blood cells, and they count for the count of these leukocytes is 6,000 to 10,000 in each cubic millimeter of blood. And coming to the third type of blood cells, platelets. They are the also called as thrombocytes. They are irregular in shape. These are platelets. And they count for 2,50,000 to 4,50,000 per cubic millimeter of blood. They are very much useful in blood clotting. Okay, and we discuss about blood and all the formed elements in detail in the circulatory system. Coming to the next type of tissue is muscular tissue. We have finished epithelial tissue, connective tissue, and the fourth type of tissue is muscular tissue and the muscle. The study of muscles is called as myology. The muscles are mesodermal in origin. They are formed from the mesoderm, and the muscles are elongated cells called as muscle fibers. They are myocytes, and the muscles are classified into particularly three types: the skeletal muscles, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles. Coming to the skeletal muscles, these are skeletal muscles. We can observe all the three types of muscles here. The skeletal muscle, they are associated with skeleton. The cardiac muscles, they are present in the heart, walls of the heart, and the smooth muscles, they are present in the visceral organs. Okay, and these skeletal muscles, as they are having alternate dark and light bands, they are alternate striations. That's why they are called as striated muscles. They are also called as striated muscles because of their striations, because of their lines. They are called as striated. As they are associated with the bones, as they are associated with the skeletal structures, they are also called as skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles, striated muscles. As they are under our conscious control, we can move our hand with our conscious. That's why they are also called as voluntary muscles. They are also called as voluntary muscles. And the muscle cells are parallel elongated cells are called as fibers. These muscle cells they are multinucleated. Here you can observe clearly number of nuclei are there, peripheral nuclei. That's why they are multinucleated. Multinucleated, and each cell is the length of the muscle. The size of the muscle, length of the muscle is the length of the cell is the length of muscle. Length of muscle cell is the length of the muscle itself. And coming to the second type of muscle, that is smooth muscle. Smooth muscles, they are spindle shaped muscles. Here you can clearly see these muscles, smooth muscles. They are single shaped muscles. Unlike that of striated muscles or voluntary muscles, they have only single nucleus. Single nucleus. That's not under our conscious control. That's why we can call them as involuntary muscles. They are not under our control, and as they are associated with the visceral organs, they are called as visceral muscles. Visceral muscles. As they are associated with visceral organs, they are also called as visceral muscles. Okay, these muscles are not under our control, conscious control. And the cells are long and tapered, and they are spindle in shape. And these cells, they are organized into sheets of muscle. Coming to the last muscle, that is cardiac muscle. Cardiac, the name itself indicates that it is associated with the heart. And the special property of this cardiac muscles is they are branched structures. The muscles are branched, and the unique property of this cardiac muscles is they never undergo fatigue. And presence of intercalated discs is another characteristic feature of these cardiac muscles. These are the intercalated discs. The presence of this intercalated discs is an unique feature of these cardiac muscles. We discuss all these muscles and detail in the structure of muscle in detail in the musculoskeletal system. Okay, coming to the next type of tissue, the last type of tissue is nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is the specialized tissue which exhibits polarization and depolarization. Because of this polarization and depolarization, the nerve impulse is conducted. This nervous tissue is ectodermal in origin, and the structural units of nervous tissue is a neuron. This is the structure of a neuron. Okay, and this is the structure of neuron, which shows the body, a large body called as cell body. It is also called as soma or perikaryon or cyton or soma or perikaryon. And this soma exhibits a number of dendrites, branching structures called as dendrites. Neurons, these neurons are the structural and functional units of nervous system, and this neuron consists of a cell body and axon, a single axon, and one to many dendrites. Okay, and based on the presence of number of dendrites, these nerves, they are classified into neurons. They are classified into unipolar neuron, pseudo unipolar neuron, bipolar neuron, and multipolar neuron. Unipolar neuron, the name itself indicating that uni means single. They are having single process from cell body. Example, neurons of dorsal root of spinal cord. Single process. Here you can observe clearly. Unipolar neurons, they are mostly sensory neurons. Mostly they are all sensory neurons, and they have a single process from the cell body. That's why they are called as unipolar neuron. This is unipolar neuron. This is having a single pole. This is only the pole, only one pole. That's why they are called as unipolar neurons. They are present in the neurons of the dorsal root of spinal cord are examples for unipolar neuron. Coming to the second type of neuron, bipolar neuron. Bi means two poles. They are having two poles. That's why they are called as bipolar neurons. One pole is axon, another pole it may be a dendrite. Example for this retina of eye. Here you can see this is bipolar neuron. This is one pole and this is one pole. This pole is having the dendrites and this pole is having the axon. These are axon terminals. Okay, and coming to the examples for this unipolar bipolar neuron are retina of eye, the cells present in the retina of eye, sensory cells of internal ear and olfactory epithelium. All these are made up of mostly these bipolar neurons. Coming to the last type of neuron, multipolar neuron. Multipolar neurons, they have one axon and have two or more dendrites. It is an example for it is a diagram showing the multipolar neuron. It is having one axon, this is one pole, and a number of dendrites, 1 2 3 4 5, similarly number of dendrites. These are all poles. That's why it is called as multipolar, more than two poles. That's why it is called as multipolar neuron. Most of the neurons are multipolar neurons. Okay, and based on their nature, whether they are sensory or motor, based on their nature, neurons, they are called as sensory neurons and motor neurons, afferent and different. All these we study and this nervous system. Thank you for watching.